What's up, YouTube? This is the Passive Income Trucker coming back at you today with another video. I don't know about that, but let's get into the disclaimer. And the information I present to you is my opinion and not and my opinion alone, and not financial advice. If you need financial advice, seek a financial advisor. These videos are for educational purposes. All parties watching these videos should assess the risk and do their own due diligence before investing in anything. Not just what I say, but what anyone tells you in and out of YouTube. Do your own research and make your decision. I cannot guarantee your results. I can only show you mine, which is due to the work that I put in. Now, thank you guys for watching this video. And as you can see from the thumbnail and from the title, we're going to be talking about Mr. Robert Kiyosaki, why I disagree with him. And before I get into the video, I'm going to give you the reason. In his title, he says, "Getting the job is for losers." Robert Kiyosaki, blah, 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 who wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Cash Flow Quadrant, and other books. And the reason I disagree with him is because he's saying the job is for losers. I'm pretty sure he has a business. I'm pretty sure he has a company. I'm pretty sure he has people that work for him. Are those people losers? I mean, you have people out there who are working every day, who may be working in a restaurant, who may be working in a hotel, who may work at a gasoline station. Those people have a job. That job is to serve. The service, I mean, if you work at a restaurant, you pretty much serve somebody. The job, he may think it's for losers, but those people have to make money a certain kind of way. As I've said in other videos, I don't think those jobs are meant to be permanent jobs. I think they're meant to be jobs for you to work as you find your way, in life on your route to find out exactly where you want to be. I don't think those jobs are meant for you to be there permanently, but I disagree that a job is for losers. I think a job is just for someone, it's an opportunity for someone to work. And my mother had a job. She worked at a hotel for a very long time because of the skills she had. I guess she was comfortable there, but that was a job. She wasn't in the streets. She wasn't doing illegal stuff. It was a job. I disagree with what he's saying about a job is for losers, but I will see if he can convince me here in the video. Let's play the video. Let's see what he talks
Hey,
about
this
here.
is Robert Kiyosaki, and we're here for another exciting and important and financial education.
Yep.
Money for millennials or
Right.
millennials and their money. Because as you and I know, our school teaches us this about money.
Yeah.
And it really kind of screws people up because they go out of school and they start doing the thing we talked about, go to school and get a job, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that was the first two lessons. So we have Alexandra here. She is a daughter of our dear friends, Fernando and Cecilia Gonzalez. And Alexandra was born the same year that Rich Dad was born.
Yeah.
And again, for those who may not know, my rich dad was my best friend's father. My poor dad was an academic, straight A student. I wasn't. I was a D, F, and C student on a good day. But my rich dad never finished school. So he had a completely different point of view. It's not right or wrong, but rich dad was an entrepreneur, and poor dad was a school teacher, head of education.
A lot of people aren't going to be entrepreneurs. Everybody can't be an entrepreneur. Somebody has to be the CEO. Somebody has to be the assistant manager. And somebody has to be an employee. Everybody can't be a manager. Everybody can't be a owner. Everybody can't be a business owner because the world won't work that way. It couldn't function if everybody was a business owner. It couldn't function if everybody was a CEO. It couldn't function if everybody was a Jeff Bezos. It just doesn't work that way.
PhD, Stanford, University of Chicago North, all the credentials for academics. So at the age of 9 in Hilo, Hawaii, my rich dad started teaching me because I asked the question of my teacher, my fourth grade teacher, said, "What do we learn about money?" I said, "Well, we don't teach about money." And I thought that was really stupid. Why go to school, get a job, but know nothing about money? So with that, this was his lesson number 1, and the rich don't work for money. So when I show you that, what goes through your head?
Because I already know your philosophy, it makes a lot of sense to me.
But for somebody watching this for the first time, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Because you go to school to get a job so you can work for money, right?
Well, the rich don't work for money. It depends on how they got there. Like, Serena Williams had to work to get where she was. She didn't start off being rich. She didn't start off knowing everything she knows about tennis. She had to work and build her craft. She had to hone her craft. She had to practice at her craft. She had to get good at her craft, or she wouldn't be the person that she was today. She had to work hard to get there. So saying that Let me go back and see exactly what this thing said.
So with that, this was his lesson number one, and the rich
don't work for money. And the reason the rich don't work for money is because they have employees. They don't have to go to work if they don't want to. They don't have to put in any new ideas. They can come up with one idea and stop if they want to. Jeff Bezos didn't have to keep coming up with these different ideas for Amazon. He could have stopped when when it started off as a book business, just selling books. He could have stopped there and kept going. And he's now a multi-billionaire because he kept coming up with ideas. He kept coming up with different philosophies and kept changing it. He kept moving the goalposts. So I want to do this. I want to get involved in this, and I want to get involved in that, and I want to get involved in that. And look at where he is, starting off from a company that sold books. I don't know many people know this, but Amazon started off selling books, and then they started getting into other things. And he built upon that. Now, if you take that idea, like some people believe that all the money from a business should be split equally between the owner and the employees, I don't agree with that because none of those employees came up with that idea. The employees didn't come up with the book company. They didn't come up with all the stuff about buying out the grocery companies. They didn't come up with the stuff about the podcast. They didn't come up with stuff about the Audible. They didn't come up with none of that stuff. So it was his idea. So he gets credit for that. That's the part that I agree with. Nah, he should have given him a raise. I would think he's making so much money that he should be able to give him a raise. But if you work for him, you're either going to work there or you're going to leave. Those are the options. I mean, you can just find somewhere else to work if you don't agree with the pay, if you don't agree with the work. And the rich don't. Saying the rich don't work for money. Let's continue.
don't work for money. So when I show you that, what goes through your head?
Because I already know your philosophy, it makes a lot of sense to me.
But for somebody watching this for the first time, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Because you go to school to get a job so you can work for money, right?
That's the purpose of life. Yeah.
Right. To be a slave for money.
Exactly.
And work for idiots like me.
Exactly.
But anyway, my way of teaching is to first put doubt in your brain to challenge your belief systems. And then maybe you can choose new beliefs or keep up with old beliefs, right? So when you think about working for money, what comes through your head?
I think about the time that I worked at the bank and I was working paycheck to paycheck and I wasn't exposed to the financial education that you provide me with. And so it was kind of sad that I couldn't afford the things that I wanted to do. And I was just...
And that's a lot of people. A lot of people go through life wondering about money. How should I spend it? What should I do with it? Should I build my credit? Should I get a credit card? Should I go to Macy's? Should I do this and do that? And this is something that you learn over time. Should they teach it in school? I agree with that it should be taught in school so everybody can come out financially understanding how to manage your money better, but they're not doing it. So you have to learn on your own. You have to learn by making those mistakes. If your parent don't teach you, you have to learn by going out and maybe getting yourself in debt, getting yourself in the bind, and learning that money is much more than just going out and just spending it every time you get it. When I go in Walmart and these other stores, I see kids walking around with Jordan and other things on. I don't think they value the money that they're getting. They're just trying to look good right now. They're only trying to just use money as showing that I have this and I have that instead of valuing that the money is not going to be there forever. I might get hurt tomorrow, and what happens if I don't get a check next week? Am I going to be out on the street? Am I going to be in trouble? Most people will be. And they don't look at it that way.
in this cycle of paying my bills and going to work, and
Correct.
that's it.
Do you have friends who haven't found a good job even though they went to school?
So I have many friends that have graduated and they're told that they're going to go to school and they're going to find a job and they find themselves without anything. So many of them have found a job and many of them have also not found a job.
Yeah, the irony is, when
And let me say this about going to school and going to college. I don't agree with the college thing. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. The main reasons you can go to college, there are people who go to college and there's just a lot of useless degrees in college. You can go to school to be an engineer and you can use that degree to get in a lot of different fields. But what you have to weigh is how long do I have to go to school? How much do I have to pay? Meaning how much debt do I have to get in? And how much will I make when I get out of school? Because you have to be able to pay that debt back. If you're being responsible, you're going to be saying I have to pay this back instead of thinking like it's going to be written off. It's going to be scratched away from my record as though I never went there. That's something you went to school for. That's something that you went to learn about. That's something that you actually put in hours of learning, times of studying that you had to want to go and learn. And there are a lot of people with degrees that never get into that field. So they spent that money for nothing. I mean, that's another reason I disagree with it. I mean, there's just too many useless degrees, too many people going to school and they change their major every other month. They don't know what they want to go for. They're going just because they were told to go to school. They're not going thinking about the long-term effect. They only think about the short term. I go to school for 4 years because I was a straight A student, because the teacher told me, because the movies told me if I go to school, I'll be successful. That's not always the case.
When I left school in the 60s, there were plenty of jobs. But the world has changed,
Yeah.
and our schools haven't. And so they're still making this innate promise of get a job. And I was very fortunate when I graduated in '69. We're the highest paid graduates in the world. My classmates were making about $120,000 to $150,000 a year. That's not much money today, but 1969, that was a lot of money. But naturally, as young guys do, we spent every penny of it.
Yeah.
So I had my rich dad's lesson, the rich don't work for money, in my head. I said, okay, I'm making all this money. I have a secure job. But what's beyond that? And that's where education comes in. So if I could explain this to you for the rest of the millennial lessons, it's really going to be on this theme here. Because financial education is about not working for money. Mm-hmm. Like one of the first questions, when I finally realized what my rich dad was saying, I said, well, when do I never need a paycheck again? See, my goal wasn't, go to the moon or, cure cancer. My job was, when would I never need a paycheck again? Because as long as you need a paycheck, be it from an employer or like my poor dad, he was so afraid of losing his government pension.
Yeah.
And I'm going, Jesus, what a way to run your life. Your pension? Mm-hmm. So my old man kind of got fired. He lost his pension. It was the most frightening thing in the world to him. He had no pension. Then it was Social Security, which is even worse.
Yeah.
So that's why my goal when I was about your age, a little older, around 25, I said, my goal is to never need a paycheck again from anybody, even the government. I don't want any Medicare, Social Security, or whatever.
Now that's a good goal to have, and not get a paycheck ever again. But I think that's a good goal. But there's a lot of ways to get there. There's a lot of ways to get there. It just depends on the journey that you want to take. Are you actually interested in doing that? And some people say they are, but they really aren't. So it depends on the person. If they really want to do it, then there's something they're going to have to seek out and find out what they really want to do.
Well, as a military pilot, I said, oh, you got to get the military pilot pension. I said, you do, but I'm not going to. And just because of this here, that was the difference. Because I never wanted to work for money to need a paycheck. So the next few lessons in Millennial Money, you'll find out what I do work for. So for right now, just let me go to the lesson here. So this comes from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and these are some of the distinctions. It was the advantage I had at age 9, because I knew what I wanted to work for. And this here, in simple terms, is called a financial statement. In school, they teach you to get a FICO score. FICO is BS. All it means, how good are you paying your bills? That's all FICO means, okay? Should be the FIDO score. Good dog. So this is what your banker wants to see. So when I was 9 years old, playing Monopoly with my rich dad, this is the lesson that's not included in Monopoly, but Rich Dad taught me. And fundamentally, the problem that most people make, they go to school to get a job, and they work here. So this is the poor, middle class, and these guys. And we're going to talk about later, your first line item expense is taxes. Just recently, President Trump said he had a tax cut. He didn't have a tax cut for these guys. As you know, the rules are always written for the rich, okay? I didn't make the rules. You can get angry at me, but these are the rules. The rich make the rules. The golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the tax cut went to people here. That's where it goes to. You'll learn more about this later on. But this is what I work for. So what I work for, number one, is I'm an entrepreneur. I want businesses. I have multiple businesses. And I don't work in them, as you know, because you work here. You never see me, do you?
No.
Because I don't work for a paycheck.
Exactly.
Next is real estate. And real estate is good for many things which we'll go into. But number one is debt. I use a lot of debt to buy real estate, and I pay no taxes. That's the relationship there. The next is paper. And that's savings, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and that stuff. I don't have any of that stuff. I don't save money. I don't have any of that. But this is what most people have: go to school, get a job, get a 401k, and save money. Loser. Okay. I'm doing that just to upset you guys, because maybe you'll start to think. Because I didn't make the rules. I'm just telling you these are the rules. These people pay the highest taxes, and they work the hardest. And the last are commodities, 4 different asset classes. So commodities are, number one is gold, silver, oil, land, water, food. So this is what I work for. When I left school, rather than working for a paycheck and working for money, my education had to go beyond getting a job, which I had a good job. But I now had to start, when I left school, about your age, the thing I focused on first actually was commodities. So back in 1972, I started buying gold. And it was illegal for Americans to own gold. Can you imagine that? Wow. Back in 72. Today you have Bitcoin. It's different. Okay. Everything is changing so rapidly today. So I started with gold, but actually the next thing was actually oil, because I went to school to be a tanker officer driving ships for Standard Oil. So I understand oil. So my wife and I don't own Standard Oil or Chevron or Exxon. We own oil wells. Again, taxes. You get no tax breaks for owning paper oil, huge tax breaks for owning real oil.
Yeah.
And then I went into real estate. Why? Because I can use debt to buy real estate. And because I use debt, I pay no taxes. And then third, I started my business, my first real business. I had many businesses as a kid. But my first real business was a nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business. And I went worldwide right away. The trouble is I was an idiot, and the business went up, and the business came down. What kept me alive was this and this. Okay. So you may say, well, aren't you working for money? But we'll go into that next. I don't want what's called a paycheck. I want cash flow. Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and we'll talk to you about an opportunity to learn to be an entrepreneur on the internet. So that's what I mean by the rich don't work for money. You want cash flow that pays very little taxes, and I can use lots of debt over here. The average person.
Now, he did say that he called people losers to get them upset because they start thinking about it. I mean, that's still not going to change a lot of people's mind. It may change some. It may help some. But you just can't have everybody be an entrepreneur. Everybody can't be a business owner. Everybody can't be a CEO. I guess the purpose of this video is just to wake people up and tell them if you want to be a business owner, be a business owner. I don't also agree with the point of getting in debt just to not pay taxes. I mean, if I start a business, why would I want to just get in debt? That's just my opinion.
Person went to school.
Just for the taxes,
The
I
biggest
guess.
liability they have is student loans, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
definitely.
Yep.
I mean, it's horrible what they do to you guys today. Yeah, student loan is just the worst type of debt of all because you cannot declare bankruptcy on it.
And think about that. You can get student loans. It doesn't matter what your credit score is, but you can get a student loan for however much you want to get, be a doctor or a lawyer. No credit score required, but for everything else, you have to have your credit score. But for that, you don't.
Then you get out, you try and buy a house, and you call it an asset when it's really a liability. Why? Because the cash is flowing that way. Your house costs you money every month. You rent a house, still costs you money. Okay? Then you have to have a nice car. I had one of those. This. So the problem with most young people.
That kind of sounds like the American dream. Go to school, get your good paying job, get your house, get you a nice car, and you're living the American dream, which is pretty much debt. The American dream is pretty much getting yourself in debt and working that circle of having a job until the day you die. That's pretty much the circle. I mean, there's just not a lot of people that's going to want to get out of working the job. A lot of people like their job. A lot of people like going to their job. They enjoy it, and that's just it. And you can't force people to be an entrepreneur. They don't want to be an entrepreneur.
People is they go to school to get that job, then a lot of them have student loan debt, then they try and get married and buy a house, they have a car, and then they have credit card debt, but they never have the chance to come over here. If they do any investing in America, it's a 401k, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. You should, but I.
But now you can invest, thanks to Robinhood and other apps. You can invest in stocks. You can invest in crypto, and start there.
I don't, because I don't have to.
And I forgot to mention this video was made in 2018. It's got like 4 million views, so it's kind of an older video. I just showed up in my timeline one day, so I just thought about it and said I'd make a little commentary about it.
Went to school for here, and people who don't go to school should be here. This is a 401k, IRA, ETFs, and that stuff. Paper, savings. I don't touch that stuff, and we'll go into that later on. Okay. So when I say rich don't work for money, I never want to be dependent on a paycheck, either from an employer or the government. I want to be a free human being. Any comments, any questions on this?
Well, now I see it clearly because it's ironic how people were upset about Trump not paying taxes, but in reality, he would have to be a complete idiot if he paid taxes, especially when you were talking about your assets and how the government.
I don't think you're an idiot if you pay taxes. It's just the way it's set up. It's set up for you to pay taxes, not the business. So you're going to pay taxes. Somebody's going to pay taxes. Somebody's going to pay taxes, and the only thing that's going to happen if they tax the business can take that tax and pass it on to the customers. That's just how it works. If a business wants to, you can tax a business all you want. You can raise their taxes to 60%. What they're going to do is take that 60, whatever their difference in what they're paying and what they're paying now. They have multiple ways that they can get their money back. Number one, they can raise the prices of the product. 2, they can just add the taxes on to whatever you're paying. Or 3, move their business out of the country. A couple ways they can handle it. They don't just have to pay the taxes, which they hardly ever do. I think it's just an advantage you have when you're doing certain things. Like you said, if you invest in real estate, you get tax free. Now, I hadn't done my research on that because I wasn't planning on going through all of that, but you can do your own research on that part as well. And as the young lady said, a lot of people were mad at Trump for not paying taxes, but he didn't explain it as well by saying because he owned real estate and because he had paid debt to get to the real estate that there was no tax because of that. He just did a horrible job of explaining it.
Wants you to have these things. They want you to own homes and invest in properties. And so that's exactly what Trump was doing, and so he gets all the tax benefits from it.
Correct.
So many people come to this country because they want to live the American dream of buying their house, going to a job, working paycheck to paycheck, going to school, when in reality, that's a nightmare.
And then what happens if they lose their job?
It depends. If you're coming from another country and you're poor, that might be just that is the American dream for them. They can come here from another country and appreciate it more than the people that are here, and they'll put in the hard work. And they'll start a small business themselves. Like there's a lot of people that come to this country from other countries who work a job, and that's what they do because that's how they survive. In that country, they more likely may not have even had a job available, so they come here to get a job that most people aren't willing to work and make it work.
They lose all security they were promised, and they lose everything, and they don't have anything to provide for their family either.
So what is your brain? I mean, you're a very smart young lady, but now your brain is a think, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, when I talk to people about financial education,
And also, a lot of people mismanage their money. It's not just about going to school and getting a good high-paying job. A lot of people have money to live a pretty good life, but they mismanage the money. They overspend their money. They take their money and put it in places, and it just doesn't work out. Sometimes you can invest in something that turns into a flop. So you have to start over. So there's multiple ways you can get in that situation where you just don't have, where you're, in your current situation, you may be broke, you may not have enough money. First, you have to look at it and see, well, where is my money going? Am I spending it on the things I need to be spending it on? Should I be putting it here? Should I be putting it there? Should I invest in crypto? Should I invest in the stock market? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I get a business? Those are things you can think about.
Well, right now, we're going to talk about, there's another issue, is Bitcoin, the dollar, and gold. Which one is better? I love real estate.
This was
Again, because
2018.
debt. I use debt to
He's
buy
talking about
real
Bitcoin.
estate. And everybody else is saying get out of debt, right? I love debt. Yeah. Trump loves debt. He's a king of debt. I'm in debt about $600 million. The average person cannot pay for their credit card debt.
So he's saying he's just admitted he's in debt over $600 million. So does the assets, if he was to sell all his assets, would the assets be worth more than $600 million? I don't know. I don't know. That's a lot of debt.
That's how tragic it is. And he's educated. I'm talking about educated people, right? And then this here, I get tax breaks because I have employees. This will be another subject going down with millennial money. But if you have a job, you're taxed. If you hire employees, they give you tax breaks. Look at right now, Amazon is looking for a new home. Every government wants to give them a home. Please move to Indiana, please move to Canada. Why? Because they'll bring in employees, and employees pay the tax. Yeah. It's the same as Tesla. They got, I think, $50 billion or something from the state of Nevada because they bring in employees. So that's why when your teacher says you go to school, get a job, you say, I'll think a little bit differently this time. Now, you need a job in interim, but you want a job for the experience. That's the difference. So the reason Rich says lesson number one is rich don't work for money is I never want a paycheck. I want to use debt, and I don't want to pay tax. I pay some tax, but minimum tax. But I want to accumulate this so I have cash flow. Anything you want to say? Any questions on that?
No, I'm happy because I can see both sides. I can see the employee side and the entrepreneur side. And
I can see she's not going to ask how much are you profitable while you're $600 million in debt, or your assets more than your debt. She's probably not going to ask that question.
Thankfully, because I work in this company, I'm not forced to work a regular 9 to 5 job. I'm able to actually work on my own projects, and it's incentivized that we actually do become entrepreneurs.
Our company encourages everybody to come here. So we don't have a 401k, do we?
No.
We don't have a retirement plan for you, do you? That keeps you motivated, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah. So what would you say to your friends or your fellow millennials about why the rich don't work for money?
I would tell them that they really, truly need to educate themselves, because to work for money is completely ridiculous. While taxes are increasing and the inflation is increasing, it doesn't make any sense to be working from paycheck to paycheck. The rich don't work for money. The money works for them.
Or being afraid of being fired.
Yeah.
Or losing your pension. Did you realize that's the biggest terror of most people?
Everybody is not in a position where they can just build business on. I probably said it multiple times, but she's just repeating what he said instead of pretty much saying what she wants to say.
Well, I might lose my pension too.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad that it's one of the biggest fears of everybody on a daily basis, whether they're going to get fired or not. And just seeing that my dad previously and my mother were both scared of not being able to support our family, and now, thankfully, because they followed your philosophy, we have all the freedom in the world.
And your mother's a real estate agent. She's an investor and real estate agent.
Yeah.
And she can help you.
Yeah, exactly. So both of them are my team, and the day tomorrow, if I do get fired, I have my properties to live off of. Yeah. So.
And you do too good a job for us to fire you.
Exactly.
That's good.
No, I work hard here.
Are you afraid of being if you make a mistake in this company, are you fired?
No, mistakes are actually encouraged. Coming from a traditional work system where we were punished for it, and then coming to this one where they're actually incentivized because we learn from them, it's amazing.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you have to admit you made a mistake.
Yeah,
You cover up the
exactly.
mistake, you're fired.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. So Sarah, my supervisor, whenever, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I can't believe I messed up. She's like, no, it's okay. We learn from our mistakes, and
That's our culture here.
yeah, it's awesome.
So thank you. So the rich don't work for what?
Money.
Thank you. And for those of you at home, find a friend and discuss this. Thank you.
Well, I didn't find the friend, but we're discussing it. I just don't agree with the title, getting the job. He went around the title, which is getting the job is for losers. He kind of just threw it out there in the kind of part of the video saying that was just something to get you mad, to get you thinking. I guess if you're doing it that way, that's fine, but don't just come out and say getting the job is for losers when you have a young lady right there who's working for you. Her job is working for you, so she's a loser according to this title. And that's the part I disagree with. Thanks for watching this video. Comment down below if you agree or disagree. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Comment, like, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching this video. This is the Passive Income Trucker. I am out.